only certain businesses work in this process. They can use it to help put their competition out of business, and it's not free enterprise at all. And that's where you get this thing like GE going into partnership with the government to get rid of its own product, where it can make more money off of another one that the government says you have to buy. Or Barack Obama telling people they have to buy one of these green cars. This is how this whole thing operates. And I mean, if the mafia were involved this way, there are RICO laws to stop them. Where are the RICO laws to stop the green mafia that's taking place? This is what we're facing.
Okay, now here's the thing, though. The government does not care that gasoline is going sky high. That's all part of the plan. They want it to go. They want it to be $4, $5, $6 a gallon, because that will force the American public then to have to move away from gasoline automobiles. That's their thinking. Because
or away from automobiles completely.
Right.
These centers that we're
right.
talking about.
You're right about that, Jim. And so they don't really care. So they stop our drilling, and that automatically is going to cause gasoline prices to go up. And they put us at the mercy of foreign oil. And if they get mad at us or we have a problem, then we've got a serious problem here, because we don't have the fuel to keep our nation warm or cool or whatever the need is. Had a listener in New York that called me or sent me an email a while back, Tom, when we were discussing some of these issues over the radio, over the television network. And they lived in a housing project, a subsidized housing project that had just been remodeled and redone. And in the course of all of that, their electricity and heating is regulating. So the lady said that if, it's freezing cold in New York here when I send this email, but if I'm running my heater and I cook dinner for my family and use the oven and the stove, then the temperature in my apartment goes up too much, and they cut all my electricity off, and it doesn't come back on until 7 o'clock the next morning.
Yeah. This is how all these processes are affecting every American now. I've heard the exact same story from California. What they're doing now is, with these government partnerships, public-private partnerships, the electric companies, who are part and parcel of all this as well. They've come up with this new plan about how to control the grid. We don't have enough energy. We haven't built enough power plants. We haven't built a new power plant in this country since the 1970s. We haven't built a new oil refinery since the 1970s.
That's right.
These are the reasons all this stuff is so high. And just to give you an example on I'm moving away from here. I'll come back for a second. This alternative energy. The Greens are always telling us that they hate the timber industry because of clear cutting. Well, get this kind of clear cutting that they are trying to put together. If you wanted to if we wanted to create enough electricity through wind power to just make up the shortage of electricity in California, because they won't build any new power plants, using wind power, it would take an area the size of Connecticut in order to just make up the energy shortage in California. Now think about what it would take to have wind and solar power as our only energy alternative. Mm-hmm. Talk about clear cutting. It takes a massive cement, roads, infrastructure. So their problem now is the grid is overpowered because we don't have enough power. So they're using that as an excuse to now go into your home and put on a smart meter onto your home. This is what these people are talking about. These smart meters have RFID chips in them. Those chips allow the power company to control your power usage. And just like the person you said described, if too much power is being used, they shut it off. Mm-hmm. This means you're going to take cold showers. It means that you will have all the things that made us the healthiest productive country in the world. They're shutting that off. And now as I mentioned, the $35,000 in your home and to comply. This is part of it. What they hope to have by next year are energy efficient appliances that have the same RFID chips in them, so that through the smart meter they can run those too and control them. And so this is the kind of control, top-down control I mentioned at the very beginning. I know when I said all this stuff at the beginning, it was like, whoa, what's he talking about? Step by step, this is how it's being implemented.
Okay, and Tom, we're going to have to pause for another break, and Tom is going to be with us for the next hour program, and we're going to be continuing on with our discussion because I have a question right now I want to ask Tom. But if you have questions, we will take your calls, and the toll-free number is 1-800-342-8430, 1-800-342-8430, or the local number is 225-768-3688, or email us on air at jsm.org. Now, email me or call right now if you want to get on the air, and all questions will be directed at must be directed at the topic that we're discussing today. We will not be answering questions pertaining to other things. So if you want to ask Tom DeWeese a question, call us right now, and we're going to be right back with you on the other side of the break.
Committed to bringing you the uncompromised truth.
And Tom DeWeese, the president of the American Policy Center, is our special guest today, and he's been sharing with us what I consider to be some very alarming situations. And I've been concerned, Tom, we've discussed it, that the people would understand what we're discussing, but I'm looking at the emails that are coming in, and they fully well understand what we are discussing. Before I read this email and have you answer it, Tom, yesterday you spent most of the day meeting with the government officials there in Virginia. At the end of the day, did you feel like that you had accomplished anything, that some of them was beginning to understand what the federal government was actually doing?
This is the second round of meetings that we've had, and we get these guys saying to us, well, I'm just having a hard time wrapping my head around what your problem is. All we're trying to do, I've never heard of Agenda 21, don't know anything about that. All we're trying to do is come up with some programs. The people of Virginia want to have a good life, and how they, develop the areas and not have all this sprawl and shopping strip malls and all that sort of thing. So we're just trying to have it organized and how we do things. So I don't know what you're talking about here, but we'll look into it. And that's what we get.
Okay, let me tell our listeners, if you will go to www.newswithviews.com, Tom has an article that was printed April the 6th, 2011. The title is Agenda 21 in One Easy Lesson. Now, you can go to the UN website and you can read Agenda 21, but it's a kind of a lengthy article, and it may be difficult for you to understand. Tom is breaking it down, and if you, this is totally a UN program. I mean, it is UN from the word go, the international government, the idea of bringing all nations into subjection of a one world government, which will mean a one world religion as well. I'm going to get to that in a moment. I want to talk to Tom about that. Before we go to Thomas in South Carolina that's holding with a question, Tom, this is an email. It comes from Dorothy. George Soros is meeting with world leaders today to create a world in his image. And that's his words. Is there a connection between his plan and the communities that you're describing?
Yeah, George Soros is helping fund an awful lot of this, and there are lots of different efforts underway, but they all are moving towards the same thing. I did an article a year or so ago called "Globally Acceptable Truth or the Crime of Thinking," and globally acceptable truth literally is the words they use This is what you're allowed to believe. This is what you're allowed to say. Everybody's got to be on the same plane to go in this direction.
Yeah, kind of like politically correct, being politically correct.
Yeah, that is, politically correct is the beginning of that, but this is much deeper, and literally when you understand globally acceptable truth, then you understand the curriculum in every high school or every school in the country, because that is what children are being taught, globally acceptable truth. And when you consider what that globally acceptable truth is, the gentleman who's the head of the Eden Foundation who coined that phrase, and I had an exchange of emails with him a few years ago, said to me that the reason we have all these problems in the world, are you ready, is because we have too much knowledge. Wow. Knowledge is driving the chaos.
Yeah, everybody can figure out what he's trying to do.
Yeah. So you understand, when you pull that together, to me I thought, now I've found the mother lode. I found Eureka here. This is how these people think. Globally acceptable truth, too much knowledge, got to control all that. Do not think, just be compliant and follow our lead, and everything will be just fine. Yeah. That is the way they think.
And then we wonder why our public school system's in shambles.
Yeah, that's exactly
and the kids are not learning.
That's exactly
and they're graduating without an education.
It means that the school system is operating perfectly according to them.
According to them.
Right. I'm going to quickly go to Morris in South Carolina that's watching on DirecTV. Morris, you have a question for Tom DeWeese?
Okay, they changed our meters here about 3 weeks ago. Okay. All meters in there.
Yeah, mine's been changed. My electric meter and my gas meter has been messed with in the last couple of years.
They didn't do the gas, but they done electric. But anyway, I worked at the nuclear power plant, and every spent fuel rod that's ever come out of them plants are still sitting there on site. They said they got Yucca Mountain, but Yucca Mountain will never be completed, and none will never be shipped there. Is that right, Tom?
That's right. Barack Obama cut off the funds for it as a favor to Harry Reid. And so, yeah, they spent billions of dollars creating that place to to safely store all these rods, and they shut it all down, and so there it sits. Now we have this massive panic because of Japan over nuclear power. We were just beginning to make some progress and getting people to understand that nuclear power is environmentally friendly and is something that we should take a long, hard look at. And all of a sudden, it's all gone right back to the hysteria. And take a look at what happened in Japan. Still, no one died. No, there was no explosion. Just like 3 Mile Island, nobody died there. All these panics over the nuclear power plant, we still have yet, other than the stupid Russians who can't run anything. We've never had any other kind of disaster with a nuclear power plant.
Well, where I'm at, we've got 2 dams up above our plant, and if one of those dams goes, that's going to be it. And like I say, every plant has got their spent fuel sitting there. There's nothing they can do with it. It's sitting there in those spent fuel pools.
Yeah, well, that's that again is the government run by the Greens, who we've got a crisis building there. That just works right in their hands. If it does happen, then they can say, "Oh, look, these nuclear power plants weren't responsible." Isn't the nuclear power plant's fault? It's the government's, irresponsibility in not doing what they set out to do, and would be making everything safe and sound.
Right. Yeah. Not to change the subject, but the Bohemian Grove, 2,700 men go there, and I believe they run every decision that goes on in the world. They make the decisions.
That's just one of them. That's just one. There's a bunch of them.
Well, that is the main one. That's where the world's richest men meet, not just the United States.
But they got a bunch of clubs.
All the Muslims and everything meet at the Bohemian Grove.
We know about it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Morris.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. And before we go to Steve, let's go ahead and go to Steve in Michigan, watching on DirecTV. Steve, welcome to Sun Life Broadcasting.
Yeah, good morning, Francis. Good morning, Francis. And
good morning,
you have
sir.
A question, Steve?
Yeah, the question, and I'll try to be brief as I can. What can we do as individuals to stop this control of how we live? I'm
very happy you asked that question. First, before I answer it, let me make it kind of simple for you. On my website, AmericanPolicy.org, just a week or so ago, I produced an article called How to Fight Back. And I've been getting some great feedback from that. People are using it and are very appreciative to it. So if you go to there, AmericanPolicy.org, and look for the article, How We Fight